Ideal Audiobooks presents Our Auntie Rosa. The family of Rosa Parks remembers her life and lessons. By Sheila Macaulay Keyes with Eddie B. Allen, Jr. Narrated by Robin Eller.
Family. Don't make a fuss about me. I'm just your auntie. Rosa Parks, civil rights activist. The interview. Among her nephews and nieces, she never talked much about that day. In many ways, she was like a firefighter who rushes out of a blazing structure with a limp body in his arms just as the roof collapses and then says, "I was only doing my job." Neither, for some reason, did her surrogate children tend to broach the subject directly, even as they read about it in history class. She once told Ebony magazine that she refused to give up her seat because she was tired and her feet hurt. In other interviews, Mrs. Parks said she was tired all right, tired of being pushed around. Yet if private chats about the civil rights movement showed signs of turning toward her, or if she thought a topic might lead one of her young relatives to ask what occurred on the Cleveland Avenue bus line, she would just flash that disarming smile and reply, "That's not important right now." Then decades later, she found herself at home with only Shirley, the niece who as a little girl became so masterful with a comb that she never failed in putting her aunt to sleep during their special grooming ritual. A full-grown Shirley finally asked the question that got the mother of the movement to reveal a version of that historic December 1st, 1955 day, not quite like any that has been documented since. We were taught a bit about the civil rights movement in school, but a lot of it was glossed over. My teachers in the late 1960s actually told us the movement only made things worse for the people who participated. A lot of these battles were still taking place when I was growing up, and uprisings were happening in northern cities too. Maybe the teachers wanted to keep us from becoming rebellious, because I was taught that all Rosa Parks did was sit down on the bus, like it was a simplistic gesture with no connection to change. I would go to class, never identifying myself as her sixth niece. But these lessons always bothered me, because Auntie Rosa didn't seem like the kind of person who committed simple-minded acts. Over 20 years later, sometime in the early 1990s, I talked with her about that day. I said, "Auntie Rosa, I've done a little bit of reading about our history. People were sprayed with fire hoses. People were beaten. People were taken out into the woods and never found again. What really happened with you?" After she'd been quiet about it for so long, I was about to hear firsthand the story that forever changed her life. She explained that under the Jim Crow laws, white and colored people were segregated in every aspect of life. In bus segregation, when both the white section and colored section were filled, a black person had to stand up and give up his or her seat to the next white passenger who boarded. Auntie Rosa had had run-ins before with the man who drove her bus that day. She had caught his eye from doing her work with the NAACP, possibly in the neighborhood or mingling with fellow activists, when she was helping register black people to vote, and the driver resented her for that. If you were colored, you had to pay your fare at the front of the bus, get back off, and enter through the rear door to get to your seat, or stand if the bus was full. Sometimes the driver would let Auntie Rosa pay her fare and wait for her to get off. Then he would leave before she could get on again. She was able to make it onto the bus this day, obviously. "I sat in the first seat for colored people," Auntie Rosa told me. "And a white man got on the bus. Mind you, there were very few white people, so their section wasn't full, but he sat in the last seat for whites." I know a lot of stories that have been written tell you the bus was crowded that day, but that wasn't the reason Auntie Rosa was told to get up. According to the Jim Crow laws, if there weren't many people on the bus, there should be some separation between the end of the white rows and the beginning of the colored rows, so they weren't directly next to each other. The man who sat in the last white row that day did it so Auntie Rosa and the other black passengers
Sample complete. Ready to continue?